Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sisters, do let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I will go by the audience that's here on Zoom. YouTube, inshallah, should be able to hear. Sisters, can you? Yes, okay. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Inshallah, sisters, hope you all are doing well and you have been there in yesterday's session, and we will just be picking up from where we left yesterday, and we will cover up whatever is remaining, inshallah. Okay. So the last bit that we did, the point that we stopped at was related to, which part was it related to? Which aspect of jinns were we discussing last? Sihr, yeah. So we were discussing about sihr, we were discussing about magic basically, and now the whole point is that the jinns, they seem to have a very strong reason to do what they do, right? As we have seen. But what about the magician? What do the magicians want? Okay, so we are looking at something called the regular things that are there. That is money, fame, honor. The desire for these things has gone to such an extent that at the end of the day, this is all they want. This is how much of the craze for it is so much that they are ready to go to any extent. In fact, we're just going to look at a few examples today, all right, of one or two, just so that we have an idea that this is existent, this is real. People can go to such an extent. Okay, now David Copperfield. I am not sure how many of us have heard of it, but heard of him. But in an era, there was a time when he was very famous. All right, and he is a extremely famous magician back in the days. Now, when we're talking about he being a magician and he being extremely famous, he also moved the Statue of Liberty. He made it disappear and then got it back on. All right. He walked through the Great Wall of China, like literally walked through the Wall of China, and people saw him. He was floating over the Grand Canyon that is there, right? So the question that everyone had, and that is why he was so celebrated, was that how can a normal human being do all of this? And I'm not talking about today's time when everything is a little too advanced. There is AI and all of that. This is a live audience. Okay, this is people live over there. They are watching him do it live. They see the Statue of Liberty going. If it's done through videos, automatically it is known that it is something which could have been manipulated. All right. Now, the total amount, you can say, he was one of the richest man on earth back then. $1 billion, 12 resorts, and we're talking about very high earning areas over here. Okay, the money was something that just surpassed limits. You name it, he had it, right? So what is all of this? We talked about the sihr of objects, right? Of the hif, the objects that are disappearing or appearance of objects here and there. And if you're talking about something that you have just created for a show, that's different. These are real life monuments over there that are disappearing, and you are capitalizing on that, right? So, what is all of this? From where is all of this coming? And in hidden interviews, which are not really out there, you can see that they have admitted to it as well, that they involve the jinns in this, right? Not only this field. Now, the purpose of even discussing this is to show that how it is um, the usage of jinns in their world is prevalent every other place. Major music industry icons in the West or whatever it is, their popularity, their immense wealth is somewhere, not for all maybe, but for most, it is stemming from the jinn world. Okay, this is what the magicians want. They lose when we're terming them as magicians. We also need to understand that they are not, sometimes they are not doing magic on others. Okay, it is for self development, it is for self growth. You want power, you want fame, you want wealth, and for that you do it. Okay, we need to understand the two aspects over here. So about David Copperfield, he developed this liking towards tricks, illusions, everything as young as 4 years old. Yesterday, when I spoke about staying away from all of these illusions and tricks, because we say that it's not harmful in any way. This is what I'm referring to. That somewhere or the other, it could develop into this insane obsession. Then, and that's when we venture into these fields. Okay. So, what about the music industry then? This also thrives. In some cases, it's the whole thing is that it's not necessarily just done by all, but in some cases, the whole popularity of they call these idols, the music idols, and whatever it is, the connection to the demons, the demon world, and all of that. And I want you to hear this for yourself. I think then it would make more sense, John.
People don't understand, like I mentioned, when you arouse yourself with these things, you're opening yourself up to a whole nother world that people don't understand. And as you mentioned, the musicians playing with the Ouija board, people don't know what these people are doing behind the scenes. There's a reason these women and these people are screaming in the crowd for them. Many people are utilizing the assistance of the jinn to assist them in their performances and everything. People don't realize these things. This is a whole nother reality, especially many of the Muslims are very ignorant towards this fact. They don't understand that this is a whole nother element. It's just not something that's, friendly and things like this. No, you are inviting these things into your home on a deeper level. When I was a non-Muslim, I used to play various instruments. I can tell you that it literally felt like I was under possession. I would do things that I was not able to do. I would play things that I was not able to play normally.
There's so much corruption in this music industry, and there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that is very wild when it actually comes to light. And this is why you have people like Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, one of the scholars of the past. He said that music is the Quran of the devil. And this is why you see that most of the people that come from the music industry, in fact, they actually do some of the worst sins, and they actually become some of the worst people that ever walked the face of this earth, from starting off with good manners, but once they enter to the music industry, I seen it personally and witnessed it, they always turn to another person that they didn't even expect.
Serious thing.
And yes, I know some people personally, I won't mention their name, and we asked a lot of guidance to Islam. It's a very, very famous rap group that sold maybe 30-40 million records worldwide. They used to actually be engagement and talking to devils, jinns, and worshiping the shaitan. And they told me stories how they used to be aided by the shayateen, and they was aided by the jinns and aided by the devils. So you have this in the music industry. You have verses where Snoop Dogg, for example, may Allah guide him to Islam, he had a song where he actually was having a conversation with the devil, and in the middle of this song he actually said that he sold his soul to the devil. So you have a corruption that happens in the music industry that's very different than any other entertainment.
So what we actually witness is it's just a trailer of what completely unfolds over there on the other side of it. And it's an insanely sinister world. There is always a reason while we have these ayat in place, the hadith in place, they keep warning us. And just imagine, sisters, we are on, you can say, on the lowest level of it, where probably we listen to music and so on and so forth. But look at the implications of it. Look at how it affects. It just makes your mind, it sets you into a trance, and you lose a sense of right and wrong. So when we say that music is literally the Quran of the devil, it is like that. Right? And this has all been said that Allah has already told it through the hadith. We know all of it, that how the people among my nation will drink wine, calling it by another name, and musical instruments will be played for them and singing girls. I mean, all of this is pretty common right now, right? What we need to understand is, are we going to still feed our mind with this garbage all the time and make ourselves hollow from within? Why is this relevant? The more hollow we get from within, the more we are making ourselves the best vessel for the jinns to occupy. Okay, that is where the problem is. These are all little things that add up, and then we make ourselves very, very susceptible to an attack by the jinn. Okay. Now, let's just move ahead now. How is it done? We've gone through a little bit in yesterday's class as well. So once the contract is signed up, it depends on the demand of what the Sahir wants, right? Now, and I already told the specific ways in which it is done. But to generalize it, so the magician, if I have to keep it very, very general, the magician will ask for a cloth or something that has touched the body of the person, and most often that is something which has touched the private parts of that person, mostly undergarments, all right? If not, then at least hair or nails and all of that. Then they take a voodoo doll and they put pins on it. Different number of pins, understand this, different number of pins, they are applicable for different types of magic. So if it's separation, then it should be, let's say, 3 pins. Business laws, 10 pins. I'm just throwing random numbers, of course. I don't know how many pins, but then this is how it is done usually. All right. So the Raqis who are there, who are trained into all of this, looking at the number of pins itself, they have an idea as to what type of magic has been done in case they find the object. All right. If not dolls, then knots, and knots is more common, all right? In the case of the Prophet ﷺ, also his hair was knotted onto the comb, right? 11 knots were there. And when Surah Falaq and Surah Nas were recited, how many ayat in total? There are 11 ayat in total. So for each knot, they read one ayah and they untied it. And that's how the magic was undone. So if you find something with knots, then knots cannot be just burnt directly. They have to be undone. You have to unknot the whole thing. If it's a voodoo doll, then you have to remove the pins. So these are all procedures that, of course, the Raqis know. Okay. Now, this is also where our Qareen comes into picture. What is a Qareen? Each one of us has an angel and the devil with us. The devil is nothing but this Qareen. Now, the magician, especially when it comes to information about us, how does the Sahir know? It's a completely unknown person. I go to them, they're able to tell me so many things about me, which is so true, and this is not in common knowledge, right? So, our Qareen is going to help the jinns get this information. Okay, so the magician will inform the jinn that this and this is the task, and sometimes the same jinn will do it. Otherwise, they will call their team. Let's refer to them as a team. The employees are there. They will delegate the tasks and say that you go and do this, you do this. So if these are minor tasks, then the employees are sent. If it's a major task, then the boss himself goes for it. Okay. Now, this is another reason why the ruqya or the clearance of all of this kind of evil that is done on a person is difficult in the case of magic, because in magic what happens is that they are bound under contract. The employees are sent. Employees will not leave until and unless their boss gives them permission, and so on and so forth. All right. So that's why it becomes a little more complex over there. Anyhow, so different types of magic have different ways, and the magic spells are also different. The reading of the their whatever mumbo jumbo they have to say, all of that is different. Okay, so you just go on to see how much of kufr is involved in this, how much of shirk is involved in this, and that is why the minute you have a confirmed magician, what is the Sharia rule? You have to execute the person. All right, that's how it works. Execution is there, especially countries where the Islamic law is followed. This is always, if they figure out that there is a magician somewhere who is involved in black magic, no questions asked. Once it's proved, the person is executed directly. Okay. Now, signs and symptoms of magic. All right. Now, in this case, there are too many of them. I think I've got 2, 3 slides about this. I will not be going through each one of them. I will leave it for all of us to read. But then you have, in terms of if it's a hair of separation, if you feel this hatred towards the spouse, then you can find beads, strange shaped stones here and there. In some countries, they speak about frogs. If you see a frog, no matter how much you kill it, and then it's still moving around and it's still there, no matter what you do. So then that is also something which is unusual, all right? Dust or flour, and this also seen, it's quite common. You see this dust which is out of nowhere. Some dust is thrown around here and there, all right? These are all ways in which it is done. Or otherwise, you have water or some kind of liquid which is sprinkled. Also, apart from the frogs, you have cats that have been slaughtered and they are just lying around over there. Okay, they cats out of nowhere. See, there's something that the cat dies on its own, or it has been hit by a car, or something of that sort. This is no, they have been literally slaughtered and they are thrown in front of your house or anything. Okay. Um, Crying for no reason, that is another thing, all right? For absolutely no reason, you're only crying and crying and crying. There is this ajib kind of thing around it, right? So that is also another thing. See, anything which is out of the blue, which is not being caused by any recent events or something of that sort, it could also be a case where a person has been depressed, has had some issues, but they did not say about it. That's a different thing altogether, all right? But apart from that, if it's there is nothing of that sort and things happen like this, then we really need to look into this. All right. Bizarre, frightful dreams that are there. Okay. Now, when you're talking about dreams, um, see, the minute we talk about dreams, what happens is that we start assuming, okay, I saw a snake in my dream. Am I possessed? Has someone done sihr on me or something like that? No, it has to be consistent. All right, it has to be something which is say 3, 4 times and you have no really real connection to that and still it happens. I tell this often. My mom, she's quite interested in snakes for some reason. She loves seeing snakes and all of that. So she once she told me that I had this dream wherein I see snakes and all of that, and she's like, what's happening? So nothing of that sort. She keeps watching these documentaries on snakes and then she sees a snake in the dream. It's but natural, all right? That's subconscious, it's there. But this, the one that is sihr, that's different. Okay, that's absolutely different. And you will see them attacking you. In one of the cases in which we had dealt with at our own level, the snake had literally in the dream tightened around this person entirely. So hardly it had tightened itself around this person. And the next day, when she was there at the place of her work, she was there and completely you can see that the signs had begun to show, wherein you could see the way she was behaving and all of it. It was there. It was happening. All right. Black dogs, scorpions, they are attacking you, and so on and so forth. You feel this pressure on the chest, uneasiness, pressure on the chest could definitely be some heart issue as well. That has to be checked. Like I said, all such cases have to be completely out of the picture, and then we can say that it can be sihr. Okay. I will share this with you, inshallah, so you can read through it well. Now, that's for sihr, that's magic, right? And I'll do the cures for all of this together at the end because otherwise it will be just a big mix. Because at the end of the day, the base level of cure stays the same, but then it is different for different types of possession or sihr and all of that. Okay, so we will do all of that at the end. Now, next, we're going to move into the next major bit, I would rather say, which is possession. Um, Come on, with all the background that we have now, Okay, we've seen what they do in case of what are the characteristics. We've seen what they do in case of sihr. Now is the actual point you can see. Now, I'm not going to get into evidence of possession because for a fact it's there. Anyone who denies that possession doesn't happen, they probably don't know. They haven't gone through it. Just because you haven't gone through it, you haven't read it, you're not aware of it, does not mean it does not exist. It exists. We have ayat, we have hadith. All of this I will just add it to your notes for evidence. You can have a look at it. I don't want to get into the evidence right now. Okay. Why possession? I mean, magic wasn't enough, but you want to possess as well now. So pretty much yes. In fact, most of the time, possession is a direct effect of magic. Okay, magic can be done externally without possession, but it also involves possession. Okay, so in worst cases, if the person really, really has some hardcore enmity with you, then through magic they cause possession as well. Now, why do they possess? Why all of this? So I see a hand raised. All questions I will be taking at the end because if the questions may or could be answered during the session, and inshallah towards the end, like we did yesterday, we'll take all of the questions. Okay. Now, so why do they possess? Why do jinns possess this? I'm basically going to combine the reasons that are listed by Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah so that you have a consolidated understanding. You will find Raqis who have actually done this entire Ruqya process and all of it. They have their reasons as well, but it falls more or less into these broad categories that we will be getting into. Okay, now the first one is by Ibn al-Qayyim. We'll go into that itself. He says that the jinns possess bodies which have very or little or absolutely no religious inclination. I think this is very well understood because what happens is that the heart and the tongue is completely void of the remembrance of Allah. Okay, Ibn al-Qayyim describes it as deserted entirely. You can imagine a barren land, right? That's how a person's soul is. That's how a person's tongue, imagination, heart, mind. No, I think it's just the name tag of being a Muslim. Rest nothing Islamic about the person or about the thinking of this person. So when a jinn meets a man who is isolated in this manner, he's more or less isolated, weaponless, naked. These are the terms that Ibn al-Qayyim uses to describe him. Naked in terms of faith, of course, right? So then this is an ideal vessel. This is an ideal means for the jinn to attack such and such a person. Okay, so along the same lines now, if a person is too involved in acts of disobedience, right? For example, a lot of music, sexual relations which are absolutely haram, complete disconnect from salah, all of this, even the fard, right? And we're talking about disconnect from fard. There are some individuals who are disconnected from the fard, but in their hearts they have a lot of iman and all of that. Okay, though it is contradictory, I understand, but there is the level that I'm referring to now is absolute dissociation from Allah, from His words, everything. Namesake Muslim. That's it. All right. So here again, in this case, extreme disobedience. This is what the jinns love, and that is why we have the case wherein they actually become the places for the jinns to occupy. Okay. Now, similarly, along the same lines, all right, the places which are desolate entirely, there are no abandoned houses. Why do we talk about abandoned houses and all of this where jinns are mostly occupying? Because there is no recitation of the Quran there. There is no adhan that is reaching there, right? So similarly, if a body is in that state, this is apt for the shaitan to occupy it. Now, another thing over here is such bodies, as in this case, for example, extreme fear, extreme anger, unawareness, and pleasure. I think I referred to this yesterday as well. At this state, it is very easy for the jinn to enter into a person's body. So a sahir would have done what he has to do, or a jinn is looking for an opportunity to enter a person's body. And this could be the case for a person who's not even who is religious and so on and so forth, I mean, on the normal levels. So this would be a weakest moment for a human, but the strongest moment for the jinn. Okay, so it is easy for them to then enter when a person reaches this state. Okay, um, uh, over here, like I mentioned about the abandoned houses, places which are isolated, right? Sometimes people have this desire, or they have this ajeeb thing, this adventure thing that gets into people. They want to go to places which are isolated. They go for trekking to mountain tops and all of that. Or otherwise, we have these places in the jungles where the resorts are made. Now, if it's a man-made resort per se, and you give it like a jungle look and a forest look and all of that, that's different, all right? But sometimes people develop these forest areas itself into resorts. Okay, and many a times we hear that we had gone on this trip. Once we returned, this is how the person is. They have changed. They are showing some weird symptoms. They're behaving strange, and so on and so forth, because the shayateen inhabit such areas. And now that we are walking into the devil's mouth, they have they don't mind. They just take in they occupy our body. Okay, so this is by Ibn al-Qayyim. This is the reason he says, and he's sticking to only one reason, that the jinns possess a human, and then that would, you can say, be the underlying reason. Okay, now next is by Ibn Taymiyyah. Now he is dividing it into three major reasons. Now first one over there is lust or love. Now um okay, we're talking about sensual desires over here, romantic feelings over here, like what? I mean, what are we talking about? The jinns have lustful desires for humans, all right? Or if it's not lust, they simply fall in love with humans. Okay, and this is more so opposite gender possession. Let me be clear over here. The homosexuality in cases of jinns is also very rare. So I think in today's time we are supposed to be more scared of humans itself, wherein this same gender obsession is on the high. But for jinns, it's the opposite gender. Okay, so what is this? I mean, what on earth is this? Just like when humans see one another, for few of us, we say, right, that it just clicked, something clicked, and I started liking that person, I'm attracted to that person, and so on and so forth. Same thing is happening in the jinn world as well, right? It is more like love at first sight. They are not looking for any compatibility over here, or likes meet up or something of that sort. No, this is pure lust basis. Okay. Um, I'm going to base this entire discussion on women because it happens with men as well. But my default, when the Rockies and all, when they present their discussions and all of it, 80% of the time it is the women who have been afflicted in this manner. Okay. How, when, where, why, what is it? Many reasons. Sometimes it could be nothing. It's just out of the blue, something like that happens, or otherwise, sometimes it is cases wherein women have the habit of walking naked in their houses. All right. And let's be very direct here. So if you're talking about, if you're walking naked in the house, if a man were to see you, so is he going to hold himself back? So it's not possible for the man. So same way with the jinn. Now the jinn are on heightened levels of lust and so on and so forth. So it is helpless. He sees you in such a state and now wants you. Okay. So, and for the jinn, they are invisible. They can do what they want, right? So it becomes easier for them to tag along with you. Now, the common question that is asked here, then aren't we supposed to, how do we undress basically? All right, how do we go to the washroom? Are we supposed to be dressed and take a shower? In fact, we get such questions that if you're saying that the jinns, they occupy the washrooms and all of that, then how do we do our business? This is why the du'as are in place. The du'as are not just a mechanical thing that we say when it's become more like muscle memory, to be very honest, all right? But then why are these du'as in place? These are du'as for protection. Nothing is just there for the sake of it. When we undress, when we go into the washroom, any time to even for a shower, or otherwise we're going to do our business, whatever it is, make sure we say the dua. That as per the narrations, when we say the dua, we are veiled from the shayateen, we are veiled from the jinns in the washroom. If we do not say our du'as, what happens is that they have free access to us then. Okay, they can see us, they can see whatever we are doing, they can see all of it. But the minute we have the dua in place, then it is fine. It is fine, inshallah. It, of course, again, depending how we say the dua, if it's just mechanical or what. Okay, so that is one way. Another way in which they fall in love, or the lust bit of it, is if the individual is committing any forbidden act, let's say forbidden sexual act. All right. So, for example, when I say forbidden, I'm saying that as per the Sharia rules, what is forbidden in that way? For example, having getting intimate during one's menses, all right, or otherwise anal sex. All of this is haram. Incest or homosexuality, anything of that sort, which is completely not allowed, which is immoral, of course, the jinn is going to do a double grab away. Okay, it watches you, enjoys it, and then wants to take over you entirely. Okay, so this is how another category that Ibn Qayyim he talks about lust or love is why they possess people. Now, question is, why can't they find one of their own? I mean, why do they need humans? Why are they crossing that realm and coming this side when they themselves, we know that they procreate, we know that they have their intimate relations, then why are they crossing over to our side? Now, we need to understand that not all of the jinns do this. We spoke about Amir, we spoke about the resident jinns, we said that they're all in dormant mode and all of that, right? Now, out of these, there may be some who have a nature which is quite evil, and that is why in jinns also we have the shaitan, we have marad, we have ifrit, we have these people, right? Um, think about it as humans. Do all humans have immoral sexual relations? No, right? And in that, if they do also, you have degrees, right? Some of them have, and then they have degrees. Some can go to extents in this immoral sexual acts that the mind cannot imagine. It's that vulgar, right? In their vulgarity, and we know we have reports of how humans have tried to have these kind of sexual relations with animals, with their own pets, with farm animals, and so on and so forth, right? So if humans can have that side, why not the jinns, right? So this is what it is. This is how, like I said, it's not everyone. It's not all the time. It's not something that is constantly happening. And that way, no one would be free from these kinds of possessions then. Okay, so that is uh, yeah, that happens at times. Now, when they get attracted to you, what do? They want to satisfy their sexual needs, all right? They do not like you. For example, if the person is married or if the person is engaged and all of that. These separation, these issues in the marriages and all of that, which are unexplained for, it could be sihr, it could be also this kind of possession where the jinn wants you for himself or herself, or whichever case that is. Okay, so they start putting waswasa in your mind then, and when you start hating your spouse, you, though when they are not around, you really want them, you miss them, you desire them, and so on and so forth. But the minute they come in front of you, you are completely appalled by them. I mean, the very sight of them disgusts you. Okay, so this is what we are talking about when we say that they possess and they have all of these different ideas that they have, and whatever. So whatever they can do in their capacity to distance you from the spouse and so on and so forth, they will do that. Okay, that's how it was. Just one moment, sisters. Okay, yeah. Now, and now in its manifestation, how is it seen, and so on and so forth. I'm sure we have seen those lousy movie clips or trailers wherein you see a woman's dress is flying up, and then she has there's things about she feels something is there and all of it. So there is an element of truth to it. We can imagine that the jinns are so strong, so you can say that this is kind of a jinn rape that's in process. Okay, there are, I think somebody asked me yesterday as well, and I can't recall as such, but is there the case of consensual sex? Yes, there is. There is definitely there, wherein both parties are okay with it. And this again comes to the part wherein humans, they drop their level of um, the morals completely drop and they're okay with it. Okay. Now, another sign of this is if you have a jinn tagging along to you with this kind of desire, is you have very erotic dreams which are frequent, very frequent. All right. And the person who's experiencing it usually wakes up in the state of janaba most of the time. Now, it's something, when you're having such dreams, you may have them occasionally. That's kind of normal, all right? But here it is almost all the time that you have these kind of dreams, okay? Now, like I said, they're not able to tolerate their husband and so on and so forth, marital issues. All of this is caused because of this kind of possession. In fact, there is this sister who um, she's okay. This also brings about the point that is it necessary that we have to not be religious or something of that sort? No, this sister was extremely, extremely religious in nature. All right, and it's not only namesake or for saying sake. This sister was on a level of high piety, high righteousness, and so on and so forth. Now, the house that she shifted to was having jinn activity in it. Of course, they're not aware of it. This is a couple, they shifted, the house is having jinn activity, and they did not realize at the start. But this sister, she started feeling um, the some presence, some presence looking at her, some presence being around her. She started sensing it. Okay, now she wasn't able to put a finger on it, but meanwhile, she had started developing hatred towards her husband also. Just as I mentioned, that when he is not around, everything is okay, no problem at all. But the minute he appears in front of her, she cannot take his sight. Okay. Um, she openly discussed it with her husband. She said, this is what I'm experiencing. I cannot explain it. I don't know what's going on. So they go to a Rocky because they were not able to put two and two together. And the Rocky said that there can be a problem over here. There can be an issue over here. So you can have a look in your house. They did not really have a look at their house. They just went on, and these things increased day by day. When suddenly one particular day she felt, in terms of sexual way, she felt this being feeling up her and so on and so forth, whereas her husband at that point in time was sitting in a different room altogether. Okay, that's when she realized, okay, this is something which is completely out of league over here. Now, they, like I said, the sisters, her iman, her yaqeen in Allah is on a different level altogether. Now, they started looking up their houses and the house, and then they found at the corners nails, nails with threads tied on it, all right, which is just randomly put over there. So they started removing all of that, and slowly but steadily, this sister, she goes on and speaking to this invisible being. She spoke to this person, not even person, this entity, and slowly but steadily, after a certain month, and she used to do her own ruqya and all of it, the thing completely left her alone, completely from the house, everything just left her alone. Okay, so this is what happens. This is in principle how it goes on. The possession can be, if you see here, no sahih required over here. This is just the jinn coming after us. Okay. The second type now is pure plain mischief. Just like in humans, we have humans who want to create facade, they want to create evil for no reason. That is it. Jinns are getting bored. They want to do something. What do? Let's go and play around with the humans. Okay. So for absolutely no reason, they come and they create mischief. All right. And so at this, and here especially, if a person is not protected with their adhkar and all of that, then possession takes place more easily in this case. Okay. Next point that Ibn Taymiyyah is pointing out is harmed by humans. Now, over here is when the jinns get angry with the humans. All right. Um, when something has been done to them, some harm that the humans has done to the jinn. It cannot be intentional perhaps at the human's end, but the jinn, of course, is not going to pay heed to them. The most common a way of this is like we say when we drain hot water into the drains, right? Our idea, our purpose is that let's unclog the drain or otherwise kill any bacteria or any kind of um, uh, microbes or anything that is there. But if there is a jinn in there and the hot water harms them, then they're going to come after us. All right. And that's the reason we say that when we drain anything, any hot water into the drains or anything of that sort, please make sure you say the basmala. Once the minute you say the basmala, what happens is that, and this is how it works. The basmala is literally a way of informing the jinns that something is going to be dropped in. All right, and they scatter around. I'm putting it in layman's term. Of course, it doesn't work like that, but then this is a way of informing basically that you need to move out. All right, so the basmala is a warning signal for them, but without the basmala, when we do it, and then what happens is that they are harmed by us and they want to come after us. Okay. Similarly, this more or less may not apply, but in case if we are urinating into holes or something of that sort, we have been strictly informed not to urinate into holes and all of this, right? Urinating or defecating, anything of that sort. Then if they are harmed by it, they will come after us. Okay, give you a simple analogy. You're sitting minding your own business. Just imagine someone comes and throws hot water on you. Are you going to just sit there and say yes, throw more of it? We're not going to do that, right? We're going to go after them. Similarly with the jinns, they being invisible beings, they're going to come after us, and then the whole freak show starts then. Okay, right. So these are the three things which are listed by Ibn Taymiyyah, and of course the last way in which the jinns possess the humans is magic. Okay, now so far are we good? Apart from questions, which I'll take at the end, is everyone okay so far? We are all on the same page? Yes? No? All good? Okay. Right. Now, if that is about the types of, the ways in which they can, the reason why they possess us, now let's move on to the types of possession. Okay. Now, there are three major types of possession that we're looking at. The first one is partial possession. Now, partial possession is for specific parts of the body. This case, the possession is not complete. It's partial in the sense that at certain parts of the body, the possession happens. For example, you have a rash, all right, or a slight paralysis of one side or one part of your body, and medically there is no explanation to it. Blood tests are fine, reports are fine, yet this thing does not leave you. All right, this could be a case of partial possession, and you will actually feel some kind of heat burning sensation in that area which persists. Okay, so that's when it is partial possession. Now, under partial possession, you have another subdivision, all right, which you can say that it's more like the jinn doesn't really stay in your body all the time. It is in and out. This is the temporary possession. All right. It's there sometimes, but it's not there at other times. In such cases, the person who is possessed will do things that everyone else can see, but of course, the person isn't aware of it because it wasn't him at that particular point. Okay, we need to understand that when the jinn is in the person's body, the person is going to do certain things. The person himself is not aware of what's going on. Okay, so this type is also very closely related to medical conditions, multiple personality disorders, schizophrenia, sleep paralysis, sleepwalking, seizures, fits, all of them, including depression. All right, depression, sense of hopelessness, and all of these are the medical things that can also manifest in this way. So here, um, you cannot say that it is definitely a jinn who's temporarily possessing my body or anything of that sort. Zero down all the medical things. If nothing is there, then we have to come back to this. Okay. Now, the problem over here is that in this case, what happens is curing this becomes a little difficult. All right, temporary possession, because what happens, the jinn is not in the body at all times, right? So here, yani the person, when you're reciting the Quran or when the adhan is heard or when this person also ends up reciting the Quran, nothing is happening. Everything is fine. All right. But other times it is there. Okay. Now, what I could actually do is before I get into the complete possession part, when you are looking, like I said, temporary possession is very closely related also to mental illness, and we have to figure out which one is it. Is it literally possession or otherwise mental illness? Now, this is the signs of mental illness, okay? And I'm going to just quickly show you the signs of possession, which are put under different categories. You have change of personality, physical changes, mental changes, spiritual changes, all right? In change of personality, you have mood shifts, uncontrollable laughter, crying, depression, and all of that. And physical changes, mental changes, spiritual changes. Just have a read of it. Now, I'm going to highlight those bits of it which are in this, which are same as mental illness as well. Okay, so out of these things, if you see rapid mood shifts, uncontrollable laughter or crying are symptoms of mental illness also. Insomnia and preferring solitude, all of this, right? So you can see how there is an overlap. Yes, of course, certain things, for example, change in voice, right? Change in face, you are able to speak and understand multiple languages overnight. This, of course, I don't think we need a Rocky or anything to understand that there is something else going on over here. Yeah, and suddenly, if a person, and they have the ability to do that, just imagine the jinn is controlling your body, right? And then suddenly the person's face turns around 360 degree or 180 degree, then you're not going to sit and think, is this a mental illness or what? It is, of course, possession. And then you need to be very direct in the treatment by taking them to a Rocky. Of course, we do not meddle with it in these cases, all right? Um, some of them are very direct, for example, seizures or epileptic fits. Now, in case of a medical issue, and this is one way in which it can be identified, is that when there are seizures or when there are epileptic fits that are there, if there is a medical problem, then the person is going to seize on one side only. Understand that, all right? When a person has a medical seizure, seizures happen on one side only, right? Either left or right, that doesn't matter, okay? But they are not going to constantly flip sides. But if it's a person who's possessed and then they're having these seizures, they're actually going to start rolling all over the place. They are not going to stick to one side. Constant movement is there. Okay. Along the same lines, have you heard of something called sleep paralysis? Anyone heard of that? Anyone experienced sleep paralysis? Yes. Okay. Experienced or heard? All right. Okay. Anyone else? Heard, experienced, right. So, just going to run you through a short clip, which is medical as well as the medical as well as some things that you're not able to identify. So let's have a look. It's literally in this way, all right? When I talk about sleep paralysis, literally you see some being over you like this. All right. while they're talking about aliens, what is your thought process on aliens? What do you think about aliens? Anyone, just randomly post it on the group because they were referring to aliens. We'll come back to sleep paralysis. I just got reminded of aliens. They may exist, all right, okay. Anything else? Anyone has any theory on the aliens after our entire discussion on jinns? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So basically, when it comes to aliens as well, see, Allah has very clearly told us what are the beings that He has created in the invisible world. We have the angels, we have the jinns, and so on and so forth, right? Now, when it comes to aliens, there is, of course, there's no reference to it in anywhere. We don't have any reference to it. So, what's the, as per the scholars in their discussion and so on and so forth, and that they just attributed again to the jinns. All right, the jinns are creating this kind of, because like we said, they have the power to project objects, they have the power to move objects, they have the power to do everything, anything and everything. So this is also not out of their reach. Allahu alam, but this is how it is. Do they exist? Do they live? Do they have this and that and all of that? So the scholars have just said that it most probably is the act of jinns itself. Okay, now coming back to sleep paralysis, I will not go anywhere else. Me myself have experienced the sleep paralysis, wherein subhanAllah, it went on for a month or so, wherein very, very vividly, I cannot forget her face. She was this little girl, young one, and she had, you know, this typical creatures that they show in these horror movies with hair all over, and that was true. And I was thinking one day, 2 days, three nights rather, I was thinking that it must be my mind playing games, but no, she's there, she's right there, sitting on the chest, just as the way that they showed, right? And the strange smile on the face, very strange smile on the face, sitting there staring into me directly, all right? And so close that if I were imaginative, if I were to lift my head, I would have touched her head entirely. Now, the difference in my case was that every one of these nights I would wake up screaming. I mean, I wouldn't wake up per se, but I would end up going on this screaming spree. And then somebody had to wake me up for me to come out of it. All right. Another form of the sleep paralysis is wherein you are completely paralyzed. You can see what is happening. You can see this figure. You can see, but you're not able to do anything at all. All right. Completely bound, you can say, until you're freed from that state. Right. So the whole thing over here is that when, just a minute. Yeah. So in my case, like I said, it was on for this constant time, for that entire time I was there in that one place. Um, every time, no matter how many hours I read, no matter what is done at night, this episode will take place and takes place once for that duration. Now, after certain months, I have to shift my house or whatever it is to move to a different place altogether. And then, two, all right. Now, in this case, this person was not on me, but there was this different person standing next to me all through. Um, and every night, and this was a he, and every night it would be there, it would be standing, and then slowly but suddenly, I don't know what, where, but literally one of these nights, now at the end of 1 month or 2 months, I guess, right? One of these nights, this person or this figure, rather, wouldn't call it even a person, just starts walking away, fades away entirely. And after that, I did not have any of these episodes. What it is, how it is, Allahu A'lam. Really, no clue what's going on over there, right? Is it that we will see vicious figures only? Yes, because it is not something which is a part of the mind or something of that sort. It has to do with something from the world of the demons. Okay, Islamically now, what's the Islamic take on this? There is something which is called as the Jazm or the Jathum. All right, Jathum. I haven't written it anywhere here, right? Jathoom, all right? It is also defined as something called the caboose, all right? This is the jinn that descends on us at night by default for everyone, not specifically, all right? Now, when a person is experiencing this kind of sleep paralysis, I think this Jathum, it makes itself manifest, all right? So if it is recurring, now understand this thing. If it is recurring and is there for a long, prolonged period of time, it could have to do something with possession or sihr or something of that sort. Okay. If it is not recurrent, if it's just for some time, then it could be a psychological disorder. There is a possibility of the medical reasons over here as well. Okay, so this is something completely there. It happens, and I think as of now it is on the rise. Some of the other time we have found people experiencing this kind of sleep paralysis. Okay, all right, so that is for the sleep paralysis. Now coming to the final type of possession, we have finished partial, temporary, and now complete. Okay, partial was specific parts of the body. Temporary, they, I like calling them in transit stage. They keep coming and going, all right, whenever they want to. And then we have complete possession. Now, this is when in complete possession, as the name goes, the jinn lives in you. At no point in time are you yourself. Temporary possession at times can change into complete possession as well. Okay, if the jinn likes the vessel it is staying in, it will like to continue to stay there and it will go ahead into complete possession. Okay, now why this is the worst case of all, because it can be not just one jinn, there could be two jinns, three, four, or many jinns living in you at the same time. Okay, sometimes in some cases, as per the Rockies report, the entire family of the jinns is living in that person itself, one person. Okay, most difficult state. Why? Because we know these are jinns and we know their power, we know their strength. What are they going to do? They're going to drain our human body entirely, right? Because and this the jinn will take over for any of the reasons mentioned, or otherwise it has got its own set of reasons. Please understand that this is not like a comprehensive list or an exhaustive list of reasons. They could have their own reasons as well, which we are not aware of also. Okay, now, when you are under demonic possession, symptoms can be manifest in different ways. Depends on who, or rather what, is living within you. What's the satanic level of this particular jinn and the strength? We need to know that in the jinns, of course, they are very strong relative to humans, but amongst themselves, they have got levels of weak strength and very strong as well. Okay, so the ones that are, we're talking about the Ifrit, they are extremely strong. But just like in humans, we have humans who are less in strength and humans who are more in strength, same way with the jinns. Okay, now if the jinn who is living in you is relatively weaker, it won't do much harm other than the regular set of symptoms. All right, for example, we have aversion to the Quran, we act delusional, and so on. I mean that happens. All right, does that mean that it is easier to get them out? It depends. If they aren't stubborn, they will listen and they will be out. Okay, that is why the weaker jinns, it's easier to get rid of them. Like I said, possession is easier to get rid of them more than magic. And on top of that, if they are weak, then if you identify it, you can throw them out. Okay. But if they are the stubborn type, right, then they're not ready to go out. In fact, they will trick you. They will say things. One of the cases, the Iraqi reports wherein this it is a couple and the wife was possessed. Okay, and this was the jinn which this was the possession which was done through sihr. Now the Rocky was doing his readings, the jinn manifested, and then he spoke to the Rocky and he said that I have come for this and this purpose. And in their conversation, that's how the Rocky's conversation unfolds. They asked the jinn to leave at a certain point, right? So the jinn said, okay, I will leave. Now, in this case, this jinn, apart from the sihr part, it was also um, it liked staying in this woman's body. All right. So it was in conversation. It used to actually speak through the woman to the husband also. So it told the it told the wife that I'm going to come out from your body after the discussion with Araki, but then it just made a condition that make sure that you shake my hand after I come out. Now, how is this? What's going on over here? Allahu Alam. But once it comes to the jinns, you have no idea what they're up to all the time. So she actually shakes the hand, and the jinn makes a permanent place in the woman's body. Okay, so they can trick you, they can do whatever they want. Okay. Um, in some cases, okay, this is a side note over here. In some cases, uh, the jinn, it stays with a person, okay, but this jinn is staying for good. It does not cause you any harm. You very well understand that there is an entity over there, all right, but it is not causing you any harm, but it's actually protecting you. It's doing good for you. It may have some affection to you, may have some affinity to you, it may sound creepy, but then it's just there, very in an invisible way, it protects you, it keeps you safe. All right. So am I supposed to be honored and happy with this? No. Our protection is from Allah alone. All right. We are not going to flaunt, or we're not going to be very happy that I have a jinn protecting me and so on and so forth. That's complete. But that happens is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now, once there is complete possession, the possessed always likes to stay alone, okay? Because the jinn wants alone time with the body it is in. Very, very jealous creatures, very stubborn creatures. I think the connotation, the name that everyone calls that you are behaving like a shaitan, you are an iblis, you, some jinn has caught you. No, it starts making sense because these are the characteristics that they manifest. The dialogues that we have, people usually say that. So they are very jealous, very protective. They want this possessed person only for themselves, no distractions. So such individuals, you'll find them that they refrain from being in gatherings of people. They always like to be secluded and so on and so forth. Now, one main thing over here, when there is a complete possession, in this case, the jinn, where does it stay in our body? It sits on the shoulders all the time. All right, that is their sitting place. So sit on your shoulders, and that is why if a person says that they have got this unexplainable neck pain all the time, right, which is extending towards the arms. Just imagine if you were to carry a child on your shoulder. You have, and you do that quite often. You see that this pain, there is this pain, ache rather, in the shoulder area, which extends to the arms, right? And you have this ajib kind of stiffness, this heaviness, as if something is sitting over there. It is a sign that there is a demon sitting on you. All right. Now, of course, again, we are not saying that if you have a neck pain now or if you have a shoulder ache, it is definitely going to be this, and then I need to start my ruqya and so on and so forth. No, get a diagnosis done. For all you know, it could be spondylitis or something of that sort. But if all of those things are ruled out, MRIs, everything is perfectly fine, and the pain is persistent, then it will not harm to have a look as to what's going on. Okay, now the complete possession, the plot thickens when we have a marid or an ifrit, all right, a very strong jinn inside the body, or like I said, a whole family. Okay, this is when the symptoms are severe and there are levels. It will not start at level 10 always. it develops. Initially, it's only one or two, and that's the stage wherein confusion and the symptoms look more similar to a mental illness. All right. But when the levels start going up and they start to go up quite fast, all right, it starts becoming clearer then, because now we are out of the realm of mental illness and we see things which no mental illness can also explain. All right. Now, in severe symptoms, in case of complete possession, the person tends to become entirely paralyzed. When we're talking about paralysis over here, the bones start breaking. For no reason, they start snapping out. Why? Because the strength, like I said, the strength of these demons, they cannot be tolerated by our body. It's more like an electrical device. If you were to plug a phone with a car battery and all of that, what do you think will happen to the phone, right? If you try to charge a phone with your car battery, it's not going to work that way, right? Same thing. Our body isn't meant to tolerate the power of the jinns. Okay, the possessed person in this particular case, you will also find them, and this is the worst, you can literally refer to this as the last stage, all right? They are starting to eat raw meat completely out of the freezer. You take it, you're not cooking it, raw, um, be it mutton, chicken, whatever it is. You're just sitting and eating raw. There is a manner in which you sit also, all right? You do not sit in the regular ways. You're not sitting in a very decent, dignified way. There's a manner to your sitting as well. Their legs are folded. Even when they sit on our shoulders, the legs are folded around the necks in that way, all right? Bending over, completely bent to the front, right? Now you're dealing with a full-fledged demon. I mean, now you cannot say that, okay, this should be some kind of mental issue, this could be some kind of schizophrenia or anything of that sort. No, this is a full-fledged demon that we're dealing with, right? The person, your individual, the human being is no longer existent over here, right? Even if they make the actual person is visible, they will be visible for only very short periods. And also you will see that the person over here is starting to drink their own excrement, be it their urine, they're eating their own filth, they're sitting in a whole puddle of urine, filth, and all of that. Okay. At this stage, there is no self-ruqya possible over here. There is nothing possible. You have to go to a Raqi. And of course, even the Raqi now, it depends if they'll be able to get them out of it, because you're dealing with Marad and Ifrit over here. They are very smart in their dealings also. Now, other signs that are evident is dark circles. And when I'm referring to dark circles, I'm not referring to dark circles which is caused by, say, nights of sleeplessness or tiredness or anything of that sort. Very deep pockets, right? You have got the panda circles literally under your eyes. So that is there. Your weight starts dropping at an alarming rate. You are not eating any regular stuff, more active at the night, completely dormant in the morning time. Um, you are dealing with a person who you cannot identify. Okay. Of the other signs are signs of hysterical laughter, crying, uncontrollable crying. All right. I'm sure we understand laughter when it is for a reason or something of that sort, but just out of nowhere, nothing is happening. You have somebody laughing in a demonic way, right? We have a problem in that case. So all of these symptoms that are there, these are there. People have died because of it, either because um, uh, the person was not treated, or otherwise, even if you treat the person, you're not able to get rid of that. Okay. Once again, bear this in mind. Nothing happens without the will of Allah. If Allah wishes for it to happen, it will happen. Okay. So just to show one of these cases, I'm sure we have heard about what about Annalise Michel? Does anyone know about Annalise Michel? Anyone heard of her? Or probably Emily Rose? Emily Rose was basically the screen name. Does anyone know about Emily Rose? Emily Rose, yes. Okay, yeah. I'm sure we have heard about Emily Rose. So in her case, now there are many people who they just say that no, that was nothing. She was fine. That's just a made up story. No, it is real. It did happen. And in this case, she was basically a German girl, and she was not a Muslim. Christian family of priests. Okay, they were completely into their own type of religiosity and all of that. And it didn't begin suddenly. It was when she was around 16 years old, and suddenly she starts having these symptoms, and she's blacking out for no reason. And when she comes back to consciousness, she's in a state of trance, and so on and so forth. Okay, so after these occurrences, you can say at that time it was more of a temporary possession state. Okay, but then later on it started having these, they were recurrent. So she would constantly get into these convulsions, and her body would start shaking uncontrollably. So they were looking like signs of psychotic illness or something of that sort, and they were having her visited. They detected it as temporal lobe epilepsy and so on and so forth. But no matter how much medication she took, no matter what she did, it didn't help. Her case just went on and on, going from worse to worst, and so on and so forth. Okay, so and this is going on over a period of, we're talking about 2 years already. So we are talking from going from level 1 to 3, and then later on it just keeps on increasing. Okay, she joins university, things start getting worse. She now begins to see the faces of devils, and the whisperings are asking her to do certain things, right? So her delusions now have become extreme. Now, at this point, what is she doing? She's no longer herself. So she is stripping the clothes on her body, um, at a stretch. And these are the behavioral patterns that they saw in her: 400 squats continuously without a break, right? Crawling under the table, barking like dogs constantly, right? Eating spiders, coals. She even started biting off birds' heads, and the licking of your own urine, and so on and so forth, right? So she was in that state. The family realized that this is way beyond psychotic illness now. So the exorcisms began, and she had over 60 or so done on her, right? And when the exorcisms they begin, all right, and when I'm referring to deep pockets under the eye, if you can have a look at hers, you see this is the dark circles that we're referring to, okay? Exorcisms begin, and they realize that it wasn't just one demon. There were six living inside of her, and as per the Islamic analysis of this case that is happening, they said that it was Ifrit or Marid in one of those. All right. She would whimper, she would growl, and then you had this low growl of the demons, right? That is real. If you see the Islamic exorcism videos, there are quite a lot of them on YouTube. You can actually hear that kind of sound that is there. Now, when you have six demons living inside you, your bones are not going to take it. Her tendons snapped, and all of this at the age of 23, she died. All right, excessive malnutrition, dehydration. 23-year-old girl. She was weighing only 27 kilos at the time of her death. Okay, just you might hear an audio or so next about her exorcism. So if you do not want to hear it, please mute it up. Right, so that is her mother actually, and this is her state now when this whole thing started. This is when the exorcisms are in process and the demons are actually talking. All right. All right. Now, this is, like I said, this is complete possession, point of no return, unless and until, of course, Allah wills for it. Okay. All right. So that's about possession, types, reasons, symptoms, medical diagnosis, and so on and so forth. And now we're going to move into the main section, which is the solution or the cure. This is the basically protection as well as cure. And this process, of course, it is called ruqya, and the person who does the ruqya is called a raqi. Okay. Now, while we are in this section, what I would like us all to understand over here is that we're not going to sit and memorize certain things over here. We're just going to see what is to be done, how is it to be done, and so on and so forth. Okay. So also we need to go into this with the understanding that ruqya isn't a magic wand that we swish it around people and they are miraculously cured. No. If that's the notion in our mind, then we need to start rethinking certain things, because a majority of the people, when they come to you with an issue, they say that this and this is happening. You ask them to do ruqya. Oh no, but I did ruqya, nothing happened. How long did you do it for? I did it yesterday. Everything is still the same today. No. All right. It is not just like the lightning strike and things are going to work on its own. No, it's not like that, right? Of course, there are lightning strike moments as well, but you're talking about the likes of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and then the rest of the Sahaba, Surah Fatiha recited once things fall back into place. I mean, their level of Iman, their level of yaqeen in Allah is different. They trust in Allah. They the faith that they had in Allah was not bound to, I make a dua, I need an answer to it. It wasn't like that, right? It is about, I've made a dua and I leave it in Allah's hand. Whenever the answer comes, it comes. If we indulge in ruqya as a means of testing Allah, that okay, I did what you said, I did the ruqya, where's the result? I mean, isn't this a form of arrogance? Are we going to test them? Right? There's a narration from a Sahabi. It's not related to jinns or anything of that sort, but just to give us an idea, because it's useful in the context of ruqya, and that's why I'm going to stress on this, because in that narration, the Sahabi, he would give away 800 dirhams or so on a daily basis on charity. Okay, and this Sahaba, he had his nephew, and this nephew would tell that you don't have so much of an income. How is it that you're giving so much of money every day in charity? So the uncle says that, I give it for Allah's sake and knowing that I will find that amount under my pillow the next day. Okay. Now the nephew took this on face value, and what he did is he gave 1,000 dirhams in charity and he slept. He wakes up in the morning eagerly looking under his pillow. He finds nothing, not even a dime. He rushes to his uncle and says that you cheated me. He said, yes, and how did I cheat you? What did I do to you? He said, I did so and so, like you do, and when I check, I had no money. Right? And this is when the Sahaba said, are you testing Allah? That I will give in charity, and when I go back and check my bank account the next day, checking if something has been divinely credited into it. No. We do our deeds not at all thinking that the result or the answer to my dua is going to come, right? And the entire reason, right? This whole thing about we all making dua, that many people have actually given up on making dua. That we stop trusting Allah altogether. Yani we say that we've made dua for so many years, we've made dua for so many months, nothing has happened. Yes, what are you trying to do then? You're trying to tell that I am doing this only so that you give me something in return, right? Allah will give it to us when the time is right. Allah will cure us when the time is right. And He knows the right time. We do not know, no matter how much we claim that we know. Simplest example, the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Sarah. When did she have Ishaq alayhi salam? When she was around 90 years old. Did she stop making dua? She didn't. 20, 30 years. And then Allah blessed her with Ishaq alayhi salam when the time was right. Yaqub alayhi salam. He made dua for Yusuf alayhi salam for 23 years. And then finally he got to see Yusuf alayhi salam. And when he sees Yusuf, when Yusuf is sent back to their lives, in such a way he's sent back that there is no remorse, there is no guilt. There is guilt on the part of the brothers. It's not that they are again plotting to send him back. The situation, the scenario, everything was created so that the coming back of Yusuf alayhi salam would be so beneficial. Right? This is all very closely related to that of Ruqya as well. For all you know, the treatment of magic and possession will happen instantaneously, or it could take a week, a month, 2 to 3, or 4 years, or never at all also. If Allah has destined that our death is written in this way, we will never be cured of it. Right? And if the afflicted person can die in such a state. So Ruqya isn't a magic wand. Don't take it as a magic wand. And the magic wand is your trust in Allah, that He alone will grant you shifa. The means is Ruqya, perhaps. Yes? Or if there is a Raqi that you choose to involve, could be the means. These are the soldiers that are in place to help us to achieve the ends. Okay? So, what are the conditions for Ruqya basically? Okay, when we're talking about conditions, we are just a moment. Yeah, that's Ruqya, Raqi. Yeah, the conditions for Ruqya to be more than permissible, I would say it to be valid. All right. First things first is only Allah's words are to be used. Allah's names and attributes, only those can be used. Right. For example, I can't do Ruqya saying Ya Maulana or Fulan or whatever it is. No, it has to be the names and the attributes of Allah. Next, I'm not going much in depth over here because like I said earlier, we're not training to be a Rocky over here. We're just understanding how it works. Okay. It must be in comprehensible Arabic or words you can understand in another language. Okay. Not necessary it has to be Arabic, but it has to be normal. When I say words that you can understand, what it means is that it shouldn't be some kind of mumbo jumbo or anything of that sort. Okay, because in the time of the Prophet ﷺ also the Raqi used to say some other words which were not shirkiya in nature. They were absolutely in line with Aqidah and all of that. So the Prophet ﷺ, he allowed it. He did not say that you cannot do this, it has to be in Arabic, nothing of that sort. Okay, the third condition over here is that the Raqi himself, as well as the person on who the entire procedure is being done on, they should completely believe in the fact that it is Allah alone who can cause this particular readings to have an effect. And this is perhaps the most essential condition. All right. And it is more or less related to whatever I mentioned about having yaqeen in Allah. This is also true for our medication, not only in terms of ruqya, even our medication that we have. If we believe that the shifa is being caused by this and this doctor placed in this and this clinic in this and this country, then that shifa is not really something that we can actually attain. Okay, whatever it is, even if that doctor is able to do something, it is because Allah willed it for him to do it. It is because Allah willed that that doctor's medication works for me in this and this way. Okay, so this is how we need to do. We need to put in that effort. We need to put in that the work from our end, and then Allah will make it reach its ends. All right. For example, take Maryam alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam, she was dying of labor pangs over there. What was Allah's instruction to her? Shake the date palm. Wasn't it possible for her to get what she wanted from Allah directly? He could have. Why are these stories in place? That's why Allah says, read them, reflect. Because only once you do a task, then Allah will give you the result of it. That's essential. Okay, so just like that in Ruqya, we have to only understand, yes, the Rocky may be good at his job, but ultimately it is Allah who has placed Shifa through that person to us. Okay, that's very important, very, very important for us to understand that. Okay, now, the Rocky and the possessed must also work in sync. Okay, when we say that they have to work in sync, we are referring to this point that none of them should be under the impression that I or you am able to affect this change in me. It is only Allah. Also, if the Raqi doesn't himself have any tawheed, he does shirk, what benefit can his recitations do? That's why the insistence that you need to go through a Raqi who is absolutely authentic in nature. Okay, there is a warning that is given to Iraqis as well, and this happens, all right? And there are quite a few Iraqis who have given up this entire profession, you could say, of dealing, or not even profession, let me not put it that way, this service that they give to others, they have given up on it because if the Iraqi is kind of weak, does not have as much strength, then it is very much possible for the jinn to overpower the Raqi. So the jinn has the capacity of moving from the possessed body to the Raqi's body then. All right, or afflicting his family, because we spoke about how they try to harm the person who has harmed them. So now it's revenge time, and then these jinns they come after the Raqi themselves. So Ibn Taymiyyah he says that you need to, if you are not really that strong, give up on it. Okay, because it's not an easy task, sisters. The ones who are there authentically in this field, it is very dangerous. It's going to drain you. Okay, now coming to the actual ruqya itself. Now, during the ruqya, the patient will feel numb, dizzy, extreme headache. All right, then it shows that the jinn is there or sihr is there. Okay, um, anything that we're afflicted with, we must know that Allah has sent a cure for it. There is no illness without a cure. The only question is, will that cure reach us or is that cure meant for us? Okay, so when we are looking at the different types of cures or the different ways in which these things work, we are just knowing it for our own understanding and nothing beyond that. Okay. For example, there are certain procedures which use honey. There are certain procedures which use oil. There are certain procedures which use the leaves. All right. So everything has got a different way in which it is dealt with. Now, one of the most basic form of self ruqya that we can do, and this is self treatment. To put it again in medical terms, you can imagine that this is what the pre-care that is taken by the nurse part. So this is us being nurses for ourselves. All right, we are helping ourselves, we are protecting ourselves. Now, in the handout that I give you, all of this has been written as an in full text itself. So if you want to take a print out of it, you can take a print out and keep it with you. All of them has been put together, not only the titles of it, so that you can have a look. Okay, so in this case of self ruqya, and this is something which is recommended, which you can do, each one of us can do on our own. All right, it's self treatment not only for us but for our family also. Read this on a daily basis. All right, when I say read it, don't make it a mechanical reading, make it a reading in which we are actually paying attention to it. I know once we get into reading on a daily basis, it becomes complacent. We need to break that as well. Okay. For the family, if the family is into this entire act of reading, then go ahead and read. If not, you can also put it, you can read it, blow it into the water and use that water for the whole family. Let the water, the family drink from it. All right. So these are, it's a very brilliant and simple formula, you can say, to protect oneself on a daily basis, and magic and possession and all of that. Of course, if magic and possession is on a high level, this will not work. But then evil eye, the Ain, I've got many questions on protection from evil eye. This is one simple way to stay away from it. Okay, it is simple yet neglected. Let us be honest about that also. If you see that there is a little more intensity of certain things happening around the house or certain things happening with us, then the recitation of Surah Baqarah covered over 3 days. When I say Surah Baqarah, it's not that for 3 days you're supposed to read the entire surah every day, one time each. No, the entire surah can be split across 3 days. Okay, you can do that. So that can be done as well. So it is good actually to keep that as a practice, say once a month or once every 2 months. You can alternate, different members of the house can read it. So that way you have that kind of reading. This is a way of protection for the family, for the self, for the house, for everything. Okay. Um, Yes, by the blowing, we mean the dry spitting kind of blowing, all right? Not the proper spitting one. Only the airflow is what is there. Now, all these methods have got a hadith, proofs. I don't want you to get into anything, and everything that I'm showing over here is only based on evidence. And all of the evidence, the references will be put in your handouts, which you can have a look at, right? Now, is self-ruqya effective? Does it really work? To be very honest, again, um, somebody who is an acquaintance as well, he was he was afflicted with this kind of magic or a possession or whatever it was, at least close to 23 years. 23 years. Okay. And at this point, when the affliction started, this particular person was a non-Muslim. All right. And in that state, he did whatever he could to get rid of it. And as and when they went deeper into this whole study, trying to get away from this thing that was bothering him and so on and so forth, so much so that, such a young man reduced just to bones. That was his case. And there was a very I wouldn't call it a very severe case of possession, but a persistent and a consistent one, right? It was there. It was all the time there. Um, this person tries, and in this process of trying to find a solution, this person also accepts Islam. All right, accepts Islam, goes to a number of Raqis, authentic ones, tries to get rid of it. Nothing happens. It's still there. It still won't leave. But with this person's acceptance of Islam, he had reached such a level where the trust in Allah was completely on a different level altogether. So he what he did then, nothing is working. He just resorted to self-ruqya, wherein the three quls being recited on a regular basis. And subhanAllah, sister, after a certain time, he sees a dream. And what is in the dream? The dream, it shows the place where the magic has been done. It was the knots that were there, right? Was placed under a rock, and in the dream, Allah showed him the place that the sihr was done. He goes there, he unties it, and all of it, and then after 23 years, I think at the age he was 35 at that time, completely freed from this magic and the sihr that was done on him. All right. So self-ruqya on its own itself is very powerful. If you have, bottom line again, if you have the yaqeen in Allah, you know that Allah is going to help you out of it, then definitely no problem with it, inshallah. Okay. Um, Apart from that, we have for protecting children. Read this on your children. Read it for them. It definitely helps because children also get afflicted. Speaking about affliction of children, um, I'm sure we are aware of when there's certain um, families or certain parents, when the children don't listen, they actually lock you up in rooms, right? Saying that you stay out over here, they switch off the lights, and then they throw the child in the room, they lock the room, and you stay here to discipline yourself, right? Dark rooms. The child is in a state of extreme fear. Like we said, there are jinns roaming around in the house as well. Easiest way for the jinn to attack the children now. Okay, there are many cases wherein, in such circumstances, the jinn has attached itself to the child, right? So I know whatever ways we are using to discipline children, I think if we just go by The regular things that are mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah that will definitely help instead of resorting to such means. There's nothing that a conversation cannot fix. So that could be another way. So these little things that we do, we are actually giving way to the jinns into our lives, into our children's life, and so on and so forth. Next, the daily du'as that are there. Okay. And now these daily du'as, sisters, do not underestimate the power of these du'as, right? I know for the wudu du'as, stepping out of house, stepping back in, these are all common things. The washroom, we always say it, but now it has to become a little less mechanical and it has to be more from the heart, and that's when the du'a will work. Otherwise, we cannot expect it to work. Anything, any du'a that we make, if we make a dua with a playful heart, then I mean, it's understood. I mean, it's not going to work as such, right? Even in the marketplace, we are so, I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but when you are in a marketplace, a kind of, for some, a kind of uneasiness sets in. And you feel, I don't know, you can't describe that, right? And that uneasiness, subhanAllah, the minute you read the dua, it just goes away. It goes away. And you have actual sense into what you're doing and not mindlessly buying stuff, right? So these du'as, they work. Stick with them. Even the dua when before getting intimate with your spouse. Mujahid rahimullah, he says that if the dua is not read, then the shaitan, the jinn, they wrap themselves around the private organ of the male. And that is why the child which is born then of such an intimate thing, they are affected by the shayateen in their behavior, in the ways that they are, and so on and so forth. Once again, not all the time, but there is a possibility. So these du'as are absolutely essential. Okay. Now, right. Now coming to this main bit wherein we have the ruqya for sihr or possession. Now, like you see, it is not the only the ayat that we always have, the Surah Baqarah ayah and the three quls and Surah Fatiha's Ayatul Kursi. No, there are more of them. Now, I'm not going to go into each. All of this is there in your handout if you want to have a look at it. Am I supposed to read this all the time? No, it's for a specific purpose. That's why we are even going through this thing, right? Du'as are different. Ayat are specific for specific purposes and so on and so forth, right? For example, some types of sihr, and I'll just put this other part as well, right? Some types of sihr, they involve the patient having to take bath in basil leaves, all right? And they have cedar leaves as well. And those leaves have to be recited upon. There is this certain procedure, and this should be done for a week or a certain amount of days that the Rocky prescribes, right? If there is a magic which is caused by infertility, the treatment plan for that is different. There is a specific oil that has to be read into honey alone, and that has to be taken for 3 to 4 months, all right, or till that problem is cured, right? Bottom line, just like a doctor is not going to prescribe Panadol for something as simple as headache and as complex as cancer, same thing here, right? The Raqi has got different treatments and an ayat in different ways for each kind of diagnosis. Everything is different, right? And the reason it becomes important to say this is that it becomes, we have bits of information here and there, okay? This is how it works. And anyone is feeling a little funny, all right? You feel a little low, you feel depressed or anything of that sort. People are running around hunting for cedar leaves. Why? I need to give this to this and this person because they have to take a bath in it. I mean, why? It's not going to work if it is not specifically that particular problem. Like, for example, you take a balm, you take some, say you've got a headache and you've got a balm for that. If you put it in an area which is bleeding, is it going to work? It's not going to work, right? So that is why when it comes to this level, either we should be specialized in it, or otherwise we can head out to a Rocky who is authentic and who can deal with all of this. All right. If we do not, and here, this we need to listen. If we do not want to go to a Rocky, we want to do self-ruqya, and we believe that this will suffice for us because ultimately it's only Allah who cures, then no harm in that either. Okay, there's no harm in doing that. You can do so self-ruqya, not necessary that you have to go to Allah. Okay, when it comes to um, uh, the ruqya process itself, like I've mentioned, possession is easier than magic, and because and sometimes it involves some Arabic folk medicine as well. All right, wherein they use some red hot axe and then they do certain procedures and all of that. So these are accepted as per the culture as long as nothing shirkiya is done in nature. We need to understand that. Okay, that is absolutely essential for us to understand, because and it becomes difficult to draw a line, and that is why knowledge of aqidah, knowledge of fiqh, why is all of this knowledge so important? Only then we will be able to see where we are going over the line. That's the reason, not because we need to get some degrees and Islamic studies or anything of that sort. Not for those reasons. Okay. Now, right, undoing magic of possession, three ways, three steps, basically, not even ways, wherein this is how the Rockies follow it. I'm just letting you know about it, not that we are going to get into it. Undo the charm and address the jinn. When you're saying undo the charm, we're talking about those knots, those voodoo dolls, and so on and so forth. All right. We are addressing the jinn is when you're actually speaking to the jinn and asking them and telling them, "Who are you?" The jinn start talking, and there's nothing anything bizarre about it. They do. They start talking. They start talking in different languages at times. Sometimes which is not understandable by the Rocky, sometimes in different lingos altogether. All right. The second, if undoing the charm and addressing the jinn does not work, then you go to the next level, which is cursing the jinn. Now, when I say cursing the jinn, is we're not going to call it just some words, foul words, nothing of that sort. When we are telling you cursing the jinn, we are calling upon the curse of Allah on the jinn. All right, that's how that cursing is done. Done once, twice, done thrice. Then, too, if we see that the jinn is not budging, they are not ready to go, they become really stubborn, then the recitation start and beating is required. Now, recitations we all know, coming to beating. In some cases, the jinn is fearful and it leaves. All right. In other cases, it actually accepts Islam. This is the part of the Rockies jinn removal procedure, you can say, where they actually ask the jinn to accept Islam and then they leave. That's the given. It does that, and then it becomes good, and then it resides with the other good jinns and so on. All right. In other cases, they don't give up. No matter what you do, they do not give up. Now the Rocky will resort to beating. Right? Now there is a huge discrepancy here. Some say beating is haram, while others actually allow it. Fact of the matter is, the Prophet ﷺ himself did a slight beating to get the jinns out. Okay, so what is it? Is beating is only done at the stage when the jinn has presented itself. Only then beating is announced, right? And where is this beating? Either done on the foot, right? On the foot, the cusp over there, or at the back, right? But not with this huge bamboo stick or something of that nature. No, slight thumps, not something very massive, all right? Or even on the foot with a stick very slightly, very thin stick slightly, all right? But the condition, the absolute condition is that the jinn should present itself. It so happened, and this is a common phenomenon again, that a person who tends to show some symptoms or magic, and now if that person is taken to a fake Rocky, the Rocky, like I said, they've just picked up some things from here and there. They actually end up hitting that person. And this person is saying that, see, when the jinn is being hit, the person does not really feel this kind of pain. But in this case, the person is actually saying that I can feel it, but the Rocky wouldn't listen. And the Rocky went on hitting this particular lady so much so that the ribs were broken and eventually she passed away. Right? So here is the different things when you're dealing with a Rocky who is fake. These are the things we're exposing ourselves to. right? In fact, this lady, this procedure was going on. She was actually having a psychiatric problem. She didn't even have a jinn possession, right? This lady could have been saved if only if the family and she knew or had knowledge about what was happening. Okay, so that's another reason we say that we have to approach those who are knowledgeable and not every Tom, Dick, and Harry that is there. Nowadays, if you see, you get those oils, you get honey that is read upon, and people have made a business over it. You, especially in places, I'm not sure, in places like Yemen and all of that, you get those honey, black seed oil, everything which is read over. All right, and nowadays people are getting more creative, and they're saying that this take this honey, this has been read over by Sheikh Fulan and Fulan, Sheikh Mishari and all of that. What they do is I don't know if they even do that, but they take the honey and they switch on the audio tape, play it over, and then seal the honey, and then they give it to you, and then they say this is the price for it, right? So it's become a business as well. So it is necessary, we need to know what is right and what is not right. Okay. Now, right. Okay. This particular hadith, the before I even get into this hadith, it is the when the ruqya is being read, all right, when do you know actually that there is a possession or something of that sort? There will be visible signs of numbness, dizziness, fainting, breathlessness. You feel all of that, all right? Then you know that something is definitely wrong and it has to be. And you actually start passing out also. There are moments of unconsciousness. You don't know what is being read. And if the jinn also does not end up talking, it may be a form of weak jinn as well. Otherwise, this jinn is going to fight back. Okay, now the hadith of 70,000 who will not enter paradise are those who have done ruqya. Now, this hadith is commonly being used, and it's confusing because this is an authentic hadith, right? Now, what does this mean is that you can do ruqya on yourself, you can do ruqya on others, all of that is okay, all right? But the whole thing is don't ask for people to do ruqya on you. Okay, if that's the case, then how do we go to a Rocky and how can this be done? All right, this requires a little bit, but just to keep it simple, this group is that specific group, all right, which chooses to bear the afflictions and the trials of the jinn and use only that which Allah has provided. Okay, they make a choice. They have that willpower. They have that extent to which they are ready to tolerate it. If you remember, there was this hadith about a woman having epilepsy and all of that, and she goes to the Prophet ﷺ and she says that I have these episodes and my aura is visible. So what do I do? It's not right. It's not appropriate for me. So he says that you can choose to bear this, right? And she chose to bear it. Otherwise, the Prophet ﷺ would have read onto her and he would have gotten rid of it, right? She chose to bear it. Now, does that mean that we're not supposed to be doing it and all of that? No. The Prophet ﷺ himself asked Aisha radiallahu anha to do ruqya on him, right? When he was in a state of sickness, he was not able to do anything. He asked her to do it on him. So there are certain conditions. There's a very detailed analysis of this, but it is one of those groups is what is usually referred to. Okay, the point is if a person is perfectly able to, this still sometimes happens that little things. I'm feeling a little uneasy. Let me go to a Rocky. Let him do a reading on me. No, we can do it in ourselves. It's absolutely possible. Okay. All right. Now, yeah, one last bit related to the Rockies itself, whether they are fake or real. What are the signs of fake Rocky? I'm sure we all know. Come on, go ahead, tell me. If it's a fake Rocky, how do we identify? Anyone? One or two? How can, okay, okay, jewelry, amulets, right, they wear them, okay, taking name other than Allah, correct, okay, mother's name, right, okay, They have brooms. Yes, absolutely, Sister Nazia. They have brooms. They actually keep hitting with brooms here and there. Right. Okay. Now, we all know the signs. We've seen them in some way or the other. All right. So even if you have a Rocky who's sitting with a beer that is touching the floor, no problem. But if this so-called Rocky is asking for the mother's name, the family name, asking for a cloth that has touched that person, or more or less wants to get cozy with the woman touching you inappropriately, whatever that case is, just run from there. All right. Simple way in which you can take it. If a doctor has to treat your fever, is the doctor going to ask you your mother's name? Absolutely not. Right? Then why does this Rocky need the mother's name? And they have a reason for it. Sometimes a Rocky will ask you a whole family tree. The reason being that the jinns require this. All right. The jinns require your mother's name in order to do or assist the Rocky in whichever the way they want to assist. Okay, so they will have their own entire list of things taken down. The qareen of the person also plays a role over here. The qareen of the person is going to give away all the information that is required to this particular jinn, right? So they will start their mumbo jumbo and they give you bits of information. How have they got this information? This information is coming from the qareen itself. And that will make you believe them totally. The rest is easy. How is this person knowing so many things about me? So now I can believe this person entirely. Okay. Now they give you amulets, they give you ta'weez, the talisman and all of that. For the love of Allah, dear sisters, stay away from such stuff. You are not protecting yourselves, you're inviting jinns to your homes and into your lives. You're literally giving them an invitation to come and occupy your lives. All right. We have seen and we know these kinds of amulets and the different kinds of ta'weez that people have, and these are the common things that we see. Now, on face value, when you look at them, they look like ayat of the Quran with a few words and numbers and here and there. All of these, and when you have these words and your numbers and you add them up, there's a whole science behind it, which is related to the jinn word. All right, and that is why for magic, number one way to undo it is to find the charm, else it's very difficult to help the person get rid of it, right? So if a person comes to you for ruqya and if it's a fake Rocky, if you tell him something about how the things are going downhill with your husband and all, he will stop reciting, say, Surah Talaq, and he will write it here and he will say that I'm writing this on a piece of paper. You have to drink this, put this in water and drink it and so on and so forth. No, this is what is going on. All right. If the ayat are written backward, how will we know? Some words, some particular letters, they will be written backwards. There's no way we will know. All right. And some of this, like we discussed during magic, they are written in the menses blood and all of that. So we take this and very, we put it over our necks, we keep it in our cars, we keep it in our cupboards, where the money safe is, we put one inside that and keep, in all of these things. Let alone blaming the Rocky for it, let alone blaming the person that we go for it. We are supposed to blame ourselves because we are relying on this. We are being that ignorant and we are relying on these things. That's the problem. Same thing with numerology, palmistry, fortune telling, reading horoscopes. I'm a Virgo, I'm a Capricorn. Based on this is how my future will be. This is how my day is going to go on. All of this is absolutely haram. Yani sisters, just one thing, just tell me one thing. If uh, these astrologers, these palm readers, they knew how we would be, how our life would be, and so on and so forth, wouldn't the Prophet ﷺ know about it? I mean, he would be the best person to know about the future. He wouldn't know things. He wouldn't know what would happen. He is fighting over there the battle of Badr, fighting all the battles over there, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. He has no clue about it. But yes, the astrologers, they tend to know everything. You read crystals, you read numbers, you read my palm, and you know how it is, right? One more thing over here. Astrology is different from astronomy. Okay, understand that we are looking at the stars, we're trying to figure out what the climate is going to be and all of that. That is perfectly fine. But astrology, using those same stars to predict the future, that's not allowed. Same lines, we're talking about superstitions, black cat, horseshoes, all of this, like I spoke about yesterday also, if the bottom line is us believing in superstitions is more like us leaving our affairs to that particular object, saying that it is above Allah and it can help me or protect me above Allah. All right, just 1 minute. Okay, now when we talk about astrologers, fortune tellers, and all of them, how do they get to know the truth? I'm just going to quickly gloss over it because we are just 1 minute to finish. Um, they are following again, the jinns are here. What the sahir establishes contact. So when we have someone like the astrologer or the soothsayer or even these tarot card readers and all of that, they have contacts established with the jinn. So these jinns, they fly over to the lowest heaven, and there when the information is being discussed or is passed along with the angels, quickly to put it, they try to grab this information. Of course, they cannot grab all of it, so they hear bits and pieces. They come down, they give it to this astrologer or fortune teller, and that is why some parts of it are true, whereas 99% of it is false. But then one part what was true, people stick onto it and say that, okay, this person is a very renowned person who knows how to predict the future as well. Okay, and we know very big people making money out of this, right? So that is what it is regarding astrology. Um, I'm just going to go over. I might have to take 10 minutes or so extra, sisters. I hope you don't mind. Right. Regarding the entire thing about astrology and all of it, please understand one more thing, sisters, is that the salah for 40 days is not accepted, right? 200 salah of yours, 40 days, not accepted, and it does not even exempt you from the obligation to cover it. You have to offer those salahs, but even if you offer them, it's not accepted, right? So that is a double thing over there, and that's how these things, we need to stay away from these things entirely. Now, I think I'll just gloss over this part, but we need to, when we're talking about Rockies, when we're talking about them, we also have to be very careful about uh, the different inappropriate advances that they make. All right, and some people say that has the woman or has the person lost their mind to allow it? You are in such a state of ignorance and in such a state of you're totally under the influence of these possessions and all, you don't know what is being done. All right, so that is why when you have these Rockies going ahead with very vulgar things with the people, and people actually tend to allow it, right? All of this by default are things that are absolutely not accepted. Okay. Now, last bit, inshallah, we're talking about the evil eye, that is Ain. Ain is true, evil eye is true, people get affected with it, and in spite of knowing it, we have this tendency in ourselves to splash our life out to everyone, everywhere. Okay, please understand, sisters, if we are doing this deliberately because we want to show the world what type of life we are living and all of that, then do not ever complain of the fact that I have been affected by the iron, my things are being destroyed in life. Do not also shift the blame onto Allah, saying that Allah is not responding to my du'as, Allah is not taking care of my affairs. There is no point in making salah, there's no point in fasting, there's no point in making du'as. No, if we have chosen to expose our lives to the world, to lay it bare so that everyone knows what we are doing, then we shouldn't be holding anyone else responsible for it because we are inviting it. How will a person who is not having those things that you are enjoying in life, do you think a person seeing that will be able to control themselves and not feel a little bit tinge in the heart, that pinch that is there in the heart, that okay, they are having this, I don't have it, they are so they're enjoying all of these benefits, it's going to harm them, right? If an evil eye, the Prophet ﷺ said, evil eye causes death, and that is a bitter truth. It does. Does the shaitan have a role to play in this? Does the jinn have a role to play in this? I can say in this case that the shaitan is we ourselves as humans. We're not talking about the supernatural world over here. We're talking about ourselves as a person who is inviting this upon ourselves. Okay. Yes, of course, there are cases wherein we have we do not do it deliberately, but it's just there. The only way to protect in such cases is the adhkar. Do the self-ruqya, do the entire process of even drinking into our water, blowing into our water, and then inshallah, the trust of course is in Allah, and Allah will take care of it. Okay. I've just put down the differences when what are the symptoms when it's possession and what are the symptoms when it's evil eye. To keep it very simple, it's not necessary that you have to remember all of this. Understand that when it comes to possession, evil eye, and sihr, evil eye is more so because of it is in our own things to ourselves, we will find some issues. All right. For example, we have a cough or we have a sickness which could be very simple, and it doesn't go away no matter what we do, right? It could be a simple case of evil eye. What we need to do, we need to do the ruqya, we need to increase in our adhkar, and all of it will be taken care of. But when it comes to possession and magic, in magic our behavior towards someone starts changing. All right, that's when we know that somewhere this is a case of sihr. Possession is of our own. Okay, possession is within ourselves. We see that, for example, like it says over here, the fainting, the seizures, we being alone, very ajib behavior is manifested, then we clearly know that it is a case of possession. Okay, all right, with that, inshallah, I think we've touched base. There is a lot more depth that we can go into, but there is just one advice for you as well as for myself, and I believe this is what I would leave us all with, sisters, is that not a leaf can move without the permission of Allah. The number of turns the leaf makes even before it touches the ground is known to Allah. So this jinn and its effect and all of it, they cannot even move an inch without Allah willing for it. Right? That is also our test, you can say. That is also our punishment, you can say. Whatever it is, and Allah knows best. Test in the sense that are we going to give in to this and go over to those haram sources for help, or are we going to place our unending trust in Allah that He is going to get us out of it? Right? And this hadith by the Prophet ﷺ is so simple yet so powerful, right? In everything, if Allah wills, basically the gist of it is if Allah wills, then things can happen. If He does not will, it will not happen. It will never happen. The question is how much are we ready to place our trust in Allah? That's the main question that we need to ask ourselves. Right? If anyone wants to leave, you may leave, inshallah. I am just going to cover the questions that we received on the form, and then I will take live questions. Just requesting that if there are any questions on YouTube, if the moderator can place them over here itself so that I can cover it, because yesterday I guess there were a few and I missed them. Okay. First question, how to confirm that someone is affected with the evil eye. We went through the symptoms, all right? So you will have, there is one more way in which you see that is affected with the evil eye. Is anything that you do, you find no success in it also, all right? Things that were easier for you, things that are going to materialize, they do not materialize. The things that are going to happen in a certain way, they do not happen. Probably you lose the affection of certain people. There are many ways in which it can be manifested. It depends on what is the thing that it is affecting. All right. So that is it. How, if the question is in regards to how it can be differentiated, you can go through the symptoms that are there. If it's less severe in nature, then it is an evil eye. Okay. I think we covered this. If possession is real, if an affected person can be cured, cure the rest with Allah alone. If Allah wills that the person is cured, then they will be, and if not, then they cannot. Um, Najat, that's evil eye. Does it happen anytime, anywhere, on any person? Yes, it does. And yes, okay, well, good question. Is it right to use the reason of evil eye for everything wrong? There is this new thing, all right? I get affected by evil eye so easily. You know, anything I do, everything I do, people are just putting their evil eye on me, and you know, the self praise that happens under the pretext or under the cover of evil eye. Let's try to avoid that as well. Okay, it becomes quite evident that everything we do, we try to put it on evil eye. It could be our own thing as well. Okay, it could be something that we have done, it could be a test, it could be anything. And evil eye is not necessarily done by others. We ourselves, for example, you dress up really well for some event or something, and then you look at yourself and you can't just stop looking at yourself because you're looking so pretty. You are afflicting yourself also with evil eye. All right. Your own children, especially babies and all of that. You look at your child and you see them smiling and them doing some action, and you are so in awe, you keep looking at them, you are affecting your child with an evil eye, right? Read the du'as. When you see something that pleases your eye, read the du'a, praise them, bless them in it. All right. Along the same lines, even jealousy. If you let, we're going to be very practical over here. We are not saints. We, each one of us, does feel jealous or does have that pinch in the heart when we see some things at times. All right. None of us can say that no, we do not feel it at all. Maybe you haven't come across a thing that you're really interested in, which hasn't really rubbed you that wrong way. Right. So when we see someone with a blessing like that, always, sisters, make a dua for them. All right? Make a dua for them. Ya Allah, give them increase in it. Give them barakah in it. Keep it for them for a long time and do not take it away from them. Bless them with happiness in it. In this way, sisters, you yourself will feel that that pinch in your heart, it suddenly vanishes. Right? You yourself feel at ease. You don't feel that uneasiness caused by because of the jealousy that is there. You will feel that way. Okay, and inshallah, like it's said that if you make a dua for someone, for your Muslim brother or sister, the angels say Ameen to it, and it is very much possible that you also get it in a better way. All right. So this is how you can turn these feelings. Best way is always to accept what we feel and deal with it rather than having defiance towards it. That always helps. Okay. Next question, can possession happen to babies as they always hide the emotions? Are they crying a lot? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Babies can be affected. Like we spoke about the jinn that stays with the children and all of it, and they can be definitely affected. Now, if they are crying or laughing a lot, crying could be multiple reasons, laughing without any reason. For a baby, I think it's better to just read, because we don't know why is a baby laughing if you're talking about hysterical laughing over here, right? Hadith or incident regarding this, I am not sure, sister. I have not uh, read any hadith or incident, but then the scholars have deduced that just as any other human, babies are also not exempted. Babies definitely can be possessed. Definitely. Okay. Uh, that they will cast an evil on divine. Okay. All right. I think welcome to the group, sister. We have many people over here. Many of us who do not feel comfortable. There is one group of people who would love to splash out their life to the whole world, whereas there is another group of people who would like to keep it as secretive as possible. All right. There are two sides of the same coin. Now, and in that process, what happens is that sometimes we end up lying, right? Because we want to hide that thing, we end up lying. Now, not necessarily, and it is not, of course, advised to lie at all. We don't have to lie about it. Maximum extent, we try to avoid it. All right, we try to avoid what we have to say or what we have to bring forth, but sometimes things just become manifest. Even if we try to hide it, it becomes manifest, right? There is something called Tawriya. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. Tawriya is a case wherein you are not lying, but you are saying half of it, or it's an intended meaning. Okay. For example, if someone is asking you about um, whether you will be at home or not, just keep it as simple as that. All right. You will say that you do not want to give it out that you will be at home or not, but you will say something to the effect that I would be at home at 6 o'clock. All right. You're not very clearly saying whether you're at home or not, but you're just giving another statement with specific details or no details, all right, which just is not you lying. You just said, answered their question with another truth, which may or may not be relevant. Okay, so you could do that, but you're not giving the entire truth, but you're giving a part of it. And at the same time, you're not lying. All right, absolutely no problem in keeping things to ourselves. I think that's the best way forward when we do not really discuss, except with those people who are very, very close to us. Okay, I think we have covered this, so I'm going to skip over it. The truth about amulets, we went over that. They are absolutely haram. They have everything in it which is not Quranic, or it's completely shirk in nature. Now, of late, with this recent coming up of Rockies making business also at times, what they do is that they give amulets which are completely halal. All right, what do I mean by that? Is there is nothing wrong in the ayat written on it, absolutely fine. Can I use that? It's best to stay away. Stay away, because this is opening the path to something else. Okay, when I'm talking about money, I got reminded of another thing, is that if a Rocky asks for money, there's nothing wrong in that. All right. These people, the authentic Rockies, they actually spend their whole life treating this, the medication that they require, the effort that goes into it. And if they are not there out there helping the people who really need that help, how are they going to sustain themselves if they don't ask for money? Right? Yes, I understand some cases they ask for an exorbitant amount of money that may not be feasible for some people, but it's not a reason to call them fake. All right, we need to understand that also. Okay. Do the people really get possessed? And if yes, the first part is done. If yes, how can we differentiate between psychology and really possessed from the affected person? We have to go through the symptoms. We need to first get them checked medically, get all the tests done and all of that. Everything turns out to be normal, no problem at all. Then we can go ahead to check if there is a possession issue. What subject should a doctor study to be able to differentiate between possession? Okay. Over here, first things first, never start a study if you are really interested in this topic and you want to study about the jinns and how they work and everything of that sort. Never ever venture into this field unless you have a proper understanding of Aqidah. All right. The first step to even understand the world of the jinns and all of that is when you have done a very detailed analysis of Aqidah, you have spent some good amount of time not only reading off books and all of that, understanding, applying, implementing in one's life. All right. Then what happens is that then you can go. There is a very specific field itself when you're talking about the world of the unseen. It falls under Aqidah. There is a chapter, there's an entire section which is a world of the unseen in Aqidah, because belief in the unseen is a part of our belief system itself. It's a part of our Aqidah. So, once we have a complete understanding of how Aqidah and everything works, then we get into the study of possession, nazar, black magic, mental illness, and all of that. Okay, it's a part of it, but have to start with Aqidah to understand how this belief system works. um, Solving and curing other religious people's problems also. When they can give a solution. Okay, making them to give a solution to the problems and living a luxurious life by getting gifts from there. To what the judgment will be and how the consequences. This is again the case of, I'm not sure if you're referring to a fake Rocky or anything of that sort. Um, but like I said, if it becomes a norm wherein you are actually getting money off it and your intention here is compromised and your intention is basically to live a luxurious life and for that I'm going to do this, then of course it's between that person and Allah. All right. That is how they want to take it ahead. That's how they are perceiving the things that is there. It's between them and Allah. I mean, it's not for us to comment. We know what it is. We know how we are going to go through these things. Okay, the Qareen is, we mentioned this. This is the companion that is there with us. We are all having an angel as well as a jinn, and this is attached to us the minute we are born. All right, the minute we are born is attached to us. Only exception is in the case of the prophets, wherein their Qareen has become a Muslim. All right, so it is not this Qareen is the one that puts. We say, right, we have evil thoughts, and these evil thoughts are from Shaitan and all of that. The Shaitan is something that the Qareen in this case. The Qareen is the one who is putting this waswasa in our mind, and they are placed with us basically as a test. Are we going to listen to the angel part of our the attachment to us, or otherwise are we going to listen to this Qareen part of it? All right. So do we need protection from them? We're not talking about protection from them per se. It is us protection for ourselves, wherein we are controlling our nafs, we are controlling our thought process, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right, I think that was a set of questions from the forms. I'm just going to look at the questions which we have received on chat. I will go to the top and then come down. All right. So just please feel free to leave if you are going overboard on the time. I'm just discussing questions now. Someone is addicted. If you're referring to drug addiction and all of that, see, drug addiction is basically you are taking drugs, right? So addiction may not really fall under the realm of jinn possession, but of course, if you are living such a lifestyle, then this addiction is that is sometimes a requirement that is there by the jinn if you want to really contact them. So the sahirs have to be addicted. They have to drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and so on and so forth. So that's a different thing over there. Okay. If someone is addicted to sex, then is that also a problem? Now, this could be a psychological problem also, but if the desire is to an uncontrollable extent, it wouldn't harm to do a little bit of ruqya on oneself. All right, and abundant dua, abundant dua. All right. The aliens. All right. Schizophrenia patient possessed by jinns. If a medical see, schizophrenia is a medical problem. All right, it's proven, it's clinically there, and so on and so forth. Okay, but if we find that the diagnosis, once the diagnosis is done, and if the doctors deny that this cannot be a case of schizophrenia, then definitely we need to check for jinn possession. Okay, very closely related, and that is why the symptoms are almost overlapping. Even we have multiple personality disorder and all of that. Most of the symptoms are overlapping. Okay. Is listening to audio more effective than reading? Always, reading is always more effective, sister. More than listening to any audio. If we are in the habit of reading ourselves, nothing more than that. Of course, we leave the audio on. What happens is that people are talking. We're not really paying attention to that. But if it's a quiet time and no one's talking, and then we just want to leave the audio on, then there's no harm in that either. Okay. So people sometimes they term it as haram, that no, don't keep the audio on, this is not at all right. No, but see, the whole point is why do people term it as haram is you have the ayat of Allah playing, you have the Quran playing, and no one is paying attention to it, and you end up talking, right? So that is kind of, you are not really giving value to the words of Allah. So in that case, people say that no, it's not right to do so. But if no one is actually talking and you are sitting there, just some peace and all of that, and you switch it on, then there's no problem in that. Yeah, in India we have the Aghori Babas. I think they are again on the north side, and Maharashtra side and all. The Aghori Babas also, if you've seen their activities, completely. I mean, all of the things that we talked about, the Seher and all of it, the Sahirs, especially what they do, you can actually see them in real life. In the open, they do that. They drink the blood, they sacrifice humans as well and drink their blood, and they offer all of those sacrificing to the demon. They keep a skull. So you want to see how it works, just look up those videos, but they're very disturbing. Physical in the past. All right. When we are doing things out of ignorance, in the past when we did, and we have the realization now, there are different ways in which we can make up for it. The first and foremost on the left on the list is sincere istighfar. Sincere istighfar, wherein when for an istighfar to be accepted, for a istighfar to be even valid, one must absolutely stay away from that act. It will not help if I constantly make istighfar, I do tawbah, but then I am going back and doing that act again and again, saying Allah is merciful. It will not work that way. So we do the istighfar, we stay away from it entirely. And another way is that we do good deeds in its place, right? Any good deed. When we say good deeds, it's not about doing some massive work like I'm going helping the refugee people over there. I'm doing this and I'm giving so much of amount in charity. No, good deeds even around your house. You help a house member do something. You allow them to rest and you do that work in their place. There is something lying on the road. I pick it up and throw it on the side because that's also a part of our deen, right? Simple things that I can do, anything good I do. I help someone not because I need something from them, just because I want to please Allah, right? So the more we do good deeds in its place, definitely that's another way. Next is fasting. Fasting is by, I would say, it's the best way in which we can actually make tawbah, because fasting is only between us and Allah. Allah is, we have mandatory for the fasting that is there, but apart from that, if I'm fasting, that is only because I want to fast for the sake of Allah, and there's nothing that can go above that. Um, okay, okay, to showcase what's needed can be done with all adhkars in place. Yeah, so yeah, yes, Sister Fatma, this is one of the cases wherein sometimes you have to actually show, all right? You have to show what you have. You can definitely do that. Otherwise, you will not know how else can you do your business if you do not showcase what you have as your products, right? If it is done in the proper way, wherein we are not going overboard with it, in a sense that we are not attaching false things to it, false claims of what the product offers and all of it, there is no problem at all. And adhkars, when a person I think is involved in business also, adhkars is a main thing because many people are, oh, they're getting such good business, they're making millions out of it and so on and so forth. So adhkars in place definitely all the time. Um, is adhkar consensual? Sorry. Is possession consensual? Because certain ayat of the Quran say the shayateen do not have the power to control us. Now, possession is not consensual. They will definitely enter our body if we make, first of all, like we just look through all of the ways, if we have made the space within us for them to enter, or otherwise they will enter by force. All right. When we're talking about the ayat of the Quran, the shayateen do not have the power to control us, if they do not have the power to control our deeds. All right. Common thing we do is we end up doing something wrong, we end up doing something haram, and then we put the blame on shaitan. We say shaitan made us do it, right? Shaitan cannot make us do anything, right? Max the shaitan is going to do is going to feed information into our mind. It's going to put waswasa in our mind, but the deeds are ours, right? But in the case of possession, it's different. They actually occupy us, and that's without any consent. Inshallah, Sister Nazia. Recording of the session is available on YouTube. As we speak, it is being broadcasted live on YouTube, so you can take it up from there, inshallah. Self-ruqya can be done anytime, not necessary after salah only, or before salah, or at this time or that time, not necessary. It can be done anytime. Best way would be to do it would be in the state of wudu. But if we are not in a state of wudu, wudu is not a condition. Let's be clear on that. For ruqya, wudu is not a condition per se, but very, very highly recommended, because sometimes we'll be in our menses. Oh, by the way, when we are in our menses as well, that's another time wherein the jinns can easily attack us. So it's highly recommended to increase. We tend to decrease it in the time when we have our cycles, because we're not offering salah and all of that, but it's always recommended to increase our adhkar during that time. In terms of addiction, if we are trying to overcome it, for example, that's just different discussion. Probably you could reach out to me on chat and we can discuss it. Okay. Yes, Mr. Another. I assume you're referring to Ruqya. So yes. Yes, the question about addiction, I think if you can just reach out to me personally, then we can discuss, because of course, there are a lot of aspects to it. Yes, Sister Livna, yes, the famous couple on TikTok who are doing all the Rocky thing, and then they expose their life. That is what the fake Rocky. This whole thing about influencers, Instagram, TikTok, yeah, they have just converted it into a circus out there. Is cursing the person or cursing collectively worse than bluntly coming out of Islam? How is one supposed to? Is one supposed to act during these times when the loved ones and friends? When we curse, is cursing, you mean as an individual, if you're cursing someone because they have done harm to your family? See, that is when you curse someone, you are actually cursing them. It's between you and Allah, right? So it's people curse when someone has done harm to us. It's, I think, natural instinct for us to end up cursing. Now the whole thing about a curse is that it will reach up the heavens, and if it is justified, only then it will be applicable, or it will affect that person that we have cursed, right? So when these trying times, when we see our loved ones in pain, the only way, and it may sound difficult, but the only way is to make dua to Allah. Because what else, as a human, what else can we do? Can we go and stop them from doing what they're doing? We cannot. If they have gone to such an extent to have this black magic done and have our family being destroyed, to some extent, even family members being killed, Allah is the one, I guess, who has to take care of it. And we cannot do anything else except make dua. Except make dua. Yes, sister, I will share the entire handout in a couple of hours, inshallah. Yeah. See, if for the question that is being repeated about addiction, all right, and we are facing constant headache, and we have this kind of addiction, and whatever you do, it is not coming under control. Start the ruqya process. Start the ruqya process in full-fledged, and also start fasting. All right. Fasting is absolutely essential in this case, because if you're saying it's persistent, get into the practice of fasting, except the Fridays and all of that, Saturdays and Fridays, but otherwise fast as long as it is, so that it helps you come out of this. Start the ruqya process, see if there is a change. If there is no change or whatever it is, then try to reach out to an authentic Rocky. Please, an authentic Rocky, and do not get meddled up with a fake Rocky, because these fake Rockies are also nothing but magicians, and they start the whole process of you coming to them. Priests recite. Yes, okay. This is a common question that if it is only by things which are non-Shirkiya in nature, then how is it in the other religions also exorcism is done and the people get cured? Okay. Now, this is another play of the jinns and the devils itself, wherein they, because like I said, the whole thing has been at that point, of course, it is by the will of Allah, but at that point, the jinns are trying to show this person that, see, you are in this religion, and because of the priest reciting whatever it is, this person is cured. So you come here and you go ahead and take these. Accept this religion. You too will be free of whatever is affecting you. I'm sure we've seen those healer sessions. All right, they have this whole group of people sitting over there, and then they are reciting, and there's all those weird things that they do. Nothing but jinn work, nothing other than jinn work over there is just going on. Okay. People living in holy cities like the Haram, all right. They can also be, yes, definitely, definitely, Sahara, evil eye, possession, in the deserts, it's quite common. No, even if a person is very, okay, let me just give that one thing for this entire discussion. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who is there who can surpass his level of iman, right? He was affected, which means, and this is the way Allah leaves these things for us to see. He was affected, anyone can be affected, right? It is possible. Of course, his level was very, very low in terms of the way he was affected, but it is not that no one can be completely immune from getting affected by a jinn. Is it haram to ask a Rocky to do ruqya without any reason, or if the reason is just evil eye? It's not haram. It is not haram at all. You can definitely ask a Rocky to do ruqya. If you find that things are not really working out, you've done everything that you could do in your capacity, then there is no problem in getting a reading done. Nothing of that sort. Um, it's a way for Tawbah. It is after finishing your backlog fast. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, if your backlog fasts are from the first of Ramadan, then yes, you can do that. And then it's not necessary that it has to be the same order per se. You can have these nafil fasts in the middle. That's not a problem at all. Okay. Do jinn possess even disbelievers? Yes, of course, they do. Um, when we are in our periods, right? Yes, they do affect the disbelievers. They definitely do that. And we being vulnerable when we are in our menses, yes, that is the case. So nothing more than the adhkar that is there, increase in the recitation. All right. I don't think it's a big deal for us to recite Ayatul Kursi. So reciting the Ayatul Kursi at different durations during the day, just randomly, that's also fine. All right. Now that we have to constantly recite, say I'm sitting, I just get reminded, I recite the Ayatul Kursi, and that's about it. Right. So we just increase our adhkar, increase istighfar, increase the dhikr of Allah. And these are the ways in which we can keep ourselves away from the jinns. The one who's affected by evil eye can be removed just by bathing him by the dirty water of that person. The dirty water, as in the water that has touched that person's body, right? Who, yes, there is. You can do that as well. But this is again now you have to figure. In this case, what happens is that you have to figure out who has put evil eye on you, right? Now, when we are living in a world when we are surrounded by so many people, in this particular hadith, the person exclusively mentioned it. They mentioned it that who has done the evil eye, and then they got hold of the person, and then they gave him a bath, and then they washed him with that, right? So if you know the person, then yes, and if the person consents to it and agrees to it and all of that, so there are conditions over there, right? Rockies who are real, sister, if you want for numbers, I can share. I do have a few numbers, so we can go ahead. Okay. Um, Muslim psychologist as well. This who's asking for a Muslim psychologist. If you can just reach out to me on chat, inshallah, I will I'll give you his number. I did not understand this. Can you say that Ruqya is narrated by I will send the number. I will send the number later on. All right, as in after the session and then as in. Okay. This whole thing, Sister Wasma, I will add this all onto, it's there in the doc, or everything is in the doc. We'll go ahead and we'll share that. All of it is there, including the hadith, so you can go through it in that, inshallah. Okay. All right, sisters, if there are no questions, inshallah, all right, sisters. Now, if we are not having any questions, I think we can close. And if there are further questions based on what you're reading and the documents and all of that, then do again let me know on the group. Okay. So I think finally we'll just close with the dua. Really hope and pray that all of us we are away from the influence of the jinns. May Allah protect us at all times from their evil influences, not only from the external beings, but our own self as well, wherein we, our own waswasa, get the better of us. May Allah enable us to have complete Iman and yaqeen in Him and protect us from the world of the demons, from the shayateen of the jinns and the humans. Protect us from the evil of our own souls and also protect us from the evil of others. May Allah accept it from us and also keep us in His protection at all times. Jazakallah khairan kathira, dear all, for attending. And inshallah, we will see you with another topic sometime soon, inshallah. Right? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته